it's already included anyway. So
Nice.
should be good to go.
Cool. What's up, guys? Welcome to Hidden Gems. I'm your host, Martin McCurdy, and tonight I'm doing something a bit special and a bit different. I'm going to be interviewing our very own Steve Perrin. How you doing, Steve?
I'm good. I'm alright.
Yeah.
Doing well.
So you finally finished your book, Microbrits, Tapestry of the British Gaming Industry. It's available now on
That's
Amazon.
the one, yep.
Yeah. £10 on paperback and £4 for the Kindle version, guys. So I'm going to be doing a bit of an interview. I'm just going to pull up to the side of the road here, so I can talk to you a little bit.
We can't find each other.
So yeah, so the first thing I want to ask you is, how does it feel to finally see, your baby being born, so to speak, like the book finally being out there, after all your months and months research and all the countless hours of work you've put in? It's got to feel pretty great, right?
Yeah. It's not the first book I've published, but it's probably the one that I've spent the most amount of time on.
Yeah.
And it's always good to get the book out there. There's a few times when I kind of thought about giving up and just, quitting the whole thing, but I managed to get there in the end, and after pushing myself through, it's all done and it's out there, and it feels really good, to be honest.
Yeah, great. I mean, I kind of know, like, where you're kind of coming from, like, with doing Hidden Gems, you know what I mean? Because there's some times where I get kind of, I almost want to give up as well, you know what I mean? But yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself, with your history games, and what led you into writing this book.
Well, the history of games, well, I've been gaming since forever. I'll go back to the Atari 2600 days. Still going strong today, so I've been for 30 odd years, nearly 40 years now. That's what led me to writing the book. But actually happened by accident. I didn't plan on writing a book at all. You'll find that when you get into the second introduction of the book. I explain it there, but originally I wrote an article on Peter Molyneux on my blog. It was one of the first things I'd ever written, and it was pretty crap, to be honest with you. It was badly written, badly researched, and I decided I'm going to rewrite it, do it all again, and this time really research it. So this new article on Peter Molyneux just kept growing and growing and growing, and it was just too big for an article. So I kind of put it to one side for a while, and then as I was researching, I discovered Peter Molyneux, when he was working at Microsoft, he oversaw Rare, and I was like, that's interesting. I didn't know, he oversaw other companies as well. And then so I started looking at Rare, which led me back to Ultimate Play of the Game, and then I found out that US Gold bought the Ultimate name, and I was like, hang on a minute, there's another connection. And then suddenly I found all these connections to other companies, so all this information started to flood in, and I was like, hang on, there's an idea for a book here. So that was it. It just kind of happened by accident.
That's awesome, yeah. That's a really great story. Like, so initially, like, it started off as this article, and then it just you got deeper and deeper into it. Yeah,
every time I did a bit of research, I found another door that opened to another company, and I was like, this is all connected some way. So
that's pretty incredible. So I mean, I've read some. I've started the book. I've only got, as I say, I've read the about the 1983 crash, right? Which I was born in 1982, so I was only like a year old. So I read about that, after the fact. And then I've started reading about the first developer Imagine Software on there. It was a name I recognise, really well, because like I started on the Spectrum 48K. You're obviously a big player in them days. So what I wanted to ask you was, what do you think that the developers that you've covered in the book, what do you think that they've done that's influenced gaming as it is today? And I mean, when I was young, when I was growing up, gaming was quite a kind of niche hobby. You were seen as a bit of a geek if you're playing games and stuff. But now it's like it's everywhere. It's really a global mainstream thing.
Yeah, I remember those days. It was embarrassing to be a gamer. Really, you never told anyone.
Yeah.
Apart from a couple of friends, you kept it to yourself. But yeah,
we're all like overweight neck beards living in your parents'
so.
basement or whatever.
Yeah. So as you say, it's more mainstream now. It's up there with movies nowadays.
Yeah.
But as for other companies, I've covered influence gaming. If we went through all of them, we'd be here all night, to be honest with you. So.
Yeah.
If I just go through a few of them, as you mentioned, Imagine, from the early 80s, they pretty much started the whole British gaming empire, to be honest with you. They created a lot of firsts.
Yeah.
They were the first people to put games on high street shop shelves. Before then, you had to get a mail order and special shops and all that. So Imagine did that. Imagine were the first to create game advertising and so on. And then you've got the likes of US Gold and its founder Jeff Brown, which you haven't read yet, but when you get to it, it's a big chapter because he founded Centresoft, which is the biggest game distribution centre in the UK, and it's still going today. And Jeff also he pushed core design to make this unfinished game about some woman shooting animals in the face, which was Tomb Raider.
My favourite game series ever.
Perhaps one of the biggest British games ever. And that only happened because of Jeff Brown liking this unfinished game that he saw. You've got Psygnosis as well, and as I say in the book, if it wasn't for Psygnosis, the PlayStation wouldn't have been as popular as it was. And Psygnosis also gave DMA their first shot in the industry. DMA, they later create GTA and become Rockstar. So you know how that turns out.
Psygnosis, that's Studio Liverpool, wasn't it?
That
was what they became, wasn't it? God, I remember, like, my ex-brother-in-law's brother, right? He was, really into computers and programming and all that back then, and I remember he made. I don't think he ever finished a game or anything, but he made a couple of games in that. And I always remember this one he made with a robot, and I think he only ever made one level or something. But just the amount of work that went in just making that, and it was kind of 3D. It was the next step after Head Over Heels, if you know what I mean. That kind of style, but more kind of get more 3D in that. And I was absolutely amazed at the time he's showing us this. But I think it was a few years after that before we started to see games like that. And I always kind of remember that, about him. But he never got. He never became a full developer, if you like, you know what I mean? But
no,
that was kind of cool. Forgot where I was now.
I forgot where you was as well.
Yeah. It was. So the book starts with the crash, the video game crash, 1983, and you mentioned the book. It wasn't really affected as much in the UK, right? It was mostly in America. There's loads of companies putting out consoles and tons of games, and then they basically just stopped buying them.
Yeah, pretty much. As you say, I mean, we weren't really affected by it over here. It was North America. So people think it is this worldwide event, and it wasn't. It was pretty much centralised to to North America, and us here in the UK, we already had a fairly decent or just starting gaming industry, so we didn't really take much notice of it. We just carried on playing our games, and it didn't bother us at all, really.
Yeah, because I think I was about 5 or something when I got my first. It was a Spectrum 48K. The first game I played was Chucky Egg.
Yeah.
I absolutely adored it. So when I heard about this, after, because obviously 5-year-old, I didn't hear about any video game. But when I got older, probably blooming digitized on Game Central, and that was the first time I'd heard about it, right? Because they talk about it quite a lot. But gaming for me was, I had loads of friends that was into games at school and all that, so I was like, what are you talking about? Video game crash. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gaming's huge, it's awesome. So yeah, it's always kind of interesting, but a lot of Americans and that, the first kind of console they got into was the Nintendo, the NES, the first one, right?
Yeah. That was pretty much what saved America from the gaming crash. Nintendo and Sega came along and injected a whole new life to it.
But in a lot of ways, if it wasn't for Britain, keeping the flame alive, as it were, it might have died. You know what I mean? If it affected us over here, then that may have been it. Gaming might not have existed.
Yeah.
Which is amazing to think about.
I think the difference was, though, in America they had big companies putting out all this software, and over here we just had bedroom programmers doing it. We had small groups of people, sometimes even just one person doing games.
It's like a kind of rock and roll thing.
Yeah. It was a lot cheaper to produce games over here. I think that's why it didn't affect us.
Oh, when I was my sister was 10 years older than me, right? She brought this book in from school, and it taught me programming, and I used to sit and read it, and I would sit and type the code in at my Spectrum. I remember vividly, right? I would sit for what seemed like forever, and it basically played the little 10-second blooming tune out of International Karate Plus.
Yeah.
The theme tune out of it.
I was writing in hundreds and thousands of lines of code
just to hear that. So you imagine how much code goes into making a full game. But I did do it a couple of times. I made little simple ones Asteroid. Is that what you called it? God, the Brick Breaker one. Not Asteroid. Yeah. Oh, what's it called?
Yeah, Arkanoid.
Arkanoid, that's the one. Yeah. Well, it was like that, but obviously not that. But it was an unofficial version of that in this book that I sat and programmed, and little kind of Space Invaders type clones and stuff like that. But I used to sit for ages glued, and in them days I wanted to grow up and be a game developer and all that. But I never kind of stuck that out.
Nah, a lot of people wanted to do it but didn't stick with it.
Yeah. When I came of age, I had two kind of ambitions: either being a game developer or going into the army, and I went into the army. I was in there for 10 years, and now I just kind of write about games. Make videos and stuff. So So, what was the first game and console you played? I think you mentioned that, the Atari 2600, yeah?
Yeah. The Atari 2600 was definitely the first console we ever had. First game, though, it would have been one of the early ones, like Space Invaders or Asteroids or something like that.
Yeah.
But the Atari actually came bundled with a game called Combat. All Ataris had that, so it probably would have
heard
been
about that. Yeah,
it's just It's like this multiplayer, multi-game thing, but you had different vehicles and tanks and planes, and you'd have to shoot the other player in different arenas and all that. So it was pretty basic stuff, but yeah, that was probably the first game.
Yeah. It was, I said, Chucky Egg. Great, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of one of the first kind of 2D platformers, isn't it? Almost like.
Yeah, I remember Chucky.
You had the farmer, and you had to go and get the eggs and avoid the blooming. I thought they were ducks. Was it ducks or chickens? I can't remember. I think there was a bit.
They all look the same.
There was. I remember like there was the boss was a big duck. So I think it was.
Yeah.
It was duck eggs. But like the Atari 2600, I remember I picked it up at car boot sale with some games and that. Even the famous blooming E.T.
Yeah.
was worth this thing, and
yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. And it was as bad as they say. I'm trying to remember the one, and it came out about it recently that it was like the first game with an Easter egg in it.
Oh yeah. There was a couple of them on the Atari. I can't remember the names there, but yeah. They had like the programmers' names hidden in them because the developers wouldn't let the programmers have their names in the credits, so they stuck them in as Easter eggs.
Yeah. There was a tank one I had. It's like.
Yeah, I remember them days.
Aye. It's like a cutout of a tank kind of shape. And like, you know, bullets were like squares flying across the screen and that.
Big square blocks.
Aye. So I asked you this, like, how's the launch of the book going so far? Have you had any? You said you sold a few copies and that.
I've sold a few. I can get reports on Amazon, which I haven't looked at yet. I know I've sold some, but it's early days yet. You know, I think I published it.
It just officially came out yesterday, right?
Yeah. I published it last week, but I didn't tell people about it. I left it a few days. I've had some positive feedback anyway. Badger over at Stuff Up Presents, he's read a big chunk of it, and he's given me some feedback, and he's loving it at the moment.
Awesome.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
He's also spotted some spelling errors, which he's told me. So I need to tidy them up at some point, and I'll do another version without the spelling errors, hopefully. But you know, in my defence, I have done the entire book all on my own.
Yeah. How many words was it?
Know, it's over 80,000.
80,000 words. I think you're allowed a couple of spelling mistakes.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But Badger said he's going to read through it, and he'll let me know if he spots any others. So I will correct them in another one down the line. So yeah, it's getting there. You know, I had some feedback from Peter Molyneux, which you know of. I sent him a copy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have to wait anyway because people only now just ordering the book, and then they've got to wait for it to be delivered, and they've got to read it. So I'll probably get more feedback over the weeks. So
yeah,
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned Peter Molyneux, and I tweeted about it, and I tagged a few, you know, gaming people, you know, like Mr. Biffo, Steve Pickford, Gareth Noyce, Tim Schafer, Jim Sterling, and they all liked the tweet.
Yeah. There's some names there, isn't there?
Aye.
Yeah, but Mr. Biffo, he actually gave the book a plug on Digitizer 2000. He was on their letters page on Friday, and he sent me a message wishing me good luck with it. So he knows about it.
Great.
I don't know whether he's brought a copy or not. I hope he has.
Yeah.
And I'd love to send copies out to some other big names in the industry as well and get their feedback. I mean, you know, the Peter Molyneux response was fantastic. So hopefully I can get some more like that.
Aye. Are you on Twitter at all?
I'm on Twitter, yeah.
Yeah. Because that's where, like, a lot of the kind of, you know, gaming, you media and developers and that kind of hang out, and they will just
talk
to you.
I don't really follow that many people on Twitter. That's the problem.
Aye.
I don't use it that much. I'll have to send you my Twitter address over, and you can add it. And
definitely. Aye.
Yeah.
I'll follow you and all that.
Yeah. I can see when people are liking the book then.
Aye. Well, there's that. If you post on Twitter about the book, and then I go on it and I retweet it, right? And then I've got 200 odd followers now, so then they'll see it, and then they might retweet it. So it's just sharing it.
Yeah.
It's just getting out around, to more people. And, all that. My followers are, kind of obviously you kind of target audience for this thing, so it gets out to them, But yeah, most of the people use Twitter, like in the kind of gaming industry, I've found.
I've never really explored Twitter that much though, so.
I didn't really before I started like Hidden Gems. It's just I discovered that's where most of the gaming people are, So kind of reach more people that way.
I need to look into that. I'll do that in the future.
Yeah. So, do you have any plans yet for a follow-up? What you're gonna write next? Have you thought? Probably too early, like.
No, I'm always thinking ahead. I'm writing every day. I always write every day. As I said, I've got other paperbacks I've published on Amazon anyway.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, I finished my first draft of my first novel. But I've still got a lot of work before that's even finished. I don't know when I'll get that done. I'm currently just finished up my second short story collection, which I'm going to try and publish around July. I've got another 4 other books that I'm pre-planning. As for gaming books, I've got some plans for those as well. Microbrits as well. I've got 2 other game-related books that I want to do. At the moment, I'm just kind of very slowly putting the ideas together. And obviously, my original idea for Microbrits was to do this hardback glossy page thing. I couldn't get that off the ground, so I did this paperback version. But if the paperback version sells well, I'm going to go back to doing the hardback version as well. So with a lot more stuff added to it. So
sweet.
I've got plenty of ideas. I've got more coming. Just getting the time to get it all done. That's it really.
Awesome. So I mean, I said to you before on Facebook and that you kind of inspired me with like following, your journey to see the book come to fruition and all that. Because I've tried to write a book, but I've not got very far, and I've kind of scrapped it. But I've got a few ideas in mind. But like, what kind of advice would you offer, like anyone who's thinking about getting into writing?
Well, I mean, if you look at, as I said about Microbrits, that started off as an article. And then I just found more and more information. It was like lots of little bits that all fell into place, and it became a book by accident. Advice, though, I mean, you just got to do it. You can't not write. I mean, a book's not going to write itself. You just got to crack on with it. As I said, I write every day, even if it's only a couple of words. Last night I got home from work about 11:30. I was tired, but I stayed up. I did a bit of writing. I did 3 lines. That was it. Which isn't a lot, but it's something. I wrote something, and then a couple of days before that, I had the day off work, and I sat down, and I did over 3,000 words in a few hours. Each day is different. But as long as you write every day, you've got to write something just to keep it in there, keep going. Even if it's only a couple of words, if it's only a couple of lines, just keep writing. Because as I said, it's not going to write itself. You're the one that's got to do it. So just crack on and do it.
Well, I mean, like a review is usually roughly 1,000 words, right? So, I mean, your book's like
I've done a few of those,
80 reviews.
But you don't really think of it like that, because
I
wasn't counting the words as I was writing. I was just writing and 80,000 is a lot of words, but you don't think about it, you just do it.
Aye. Well, this is it. I wrote like 3 reviews in a day, or like 10 news stories in a day. You know what I mean? So you
add up all them words. That's a good few thousand.
So just finally, have to ask you, were you a Sega kid or a Nintendo kid?
A Sega kid or a Nintendo kid?
Yeah. Just
honestly,
for fun at the end.
yeah. Honestly, I was neither. I mean, I grew up with computers, not consoles. I was
Yeah.
a Commodore 64 kid.
Yeah.
You know, but I did have friends who had the consoles, so I got to play them. But I didn't actually own a console myself until I was a lot older. First console I ever bought with my own money was the N64, which was, what, 97, 98, something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would have been at 20, just over 20 years old at the time. You know, Sega then were on their last legs with the Dreamcast. They were on the way out, so I never got into that whole Nintendo Sega thing. But
yeah,
honestly, out of the two, I always preferred Nintendo out of the two. So I was a Nintendo related Nintendo kid. Let's put it like that.
Yeah. I was like, I was gonna say the secret, it's actually secret option C, the Amiga kid. Yeah. Amiga was just awesome. That was like one of my favorites growing up.
My brother had an Amiga 500, and then he got a 1200 as well later. So that did me for my childhood.
I had 600 before I got it. I got a 600 and then the 1200. Yeah. That was awesome at the time. I did have a Master System, and then later a Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I brought a Super Nintendo second hand after it came out in the early 2000s. That was a great console, that was. Me and my nephews, when we were growing up, we used to like always have the opposite. So I had the Spectrum, they had the Commodore 64, and basically that was so we could just swap cold computers and all our games, so we could play everything. Yeah. So we always asked for like the opposite thing. So like I had an Amiga, they had an Atari ST. Yeah. You couldn't afford both that back then. You only had one or the other. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. They didn't have the Atari ST for long though. They ended up getting Amiga. I don't blame them. No, because like my experience, it wasn't very good. Amiga was well better. The Amiga was a lot better. Yeah. Then we did it with they had the NES had the Master System, and then we swapped. Like I wanted the Nintendo and they got the Mega Drive. Yeah, it's pretty good that way. So yeah, that's about it, mate. So thanks very much. That's all right. Thanks for the interview. Yeah, your first and my first. So the Microbrits Tapestry of the British gaming industry is available now on Amazon's. £10 for the paperback and £4 for the Kindle version. So if you want that, you can go and check it out. Thanks again, Steve, and if you watch, guys, we'll catch you again next time. If you did enjoy it, leave us a like and a subscribe, be super appreciated. Really helps us out a lot. Alright guys, till next time. Bye now, bye.